welcome to another episode of The Jamie Hughes Show. My name, as always, is Jamie Hughes, and today I'm going to be giving you my review of El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. And as always, with my videos, this review may include spoilers, so you have now been warned. So El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie is, I'm not going to lie, for me it felt nothing short of perfection. I really love this movie, and what was great to see is because for me personally, I'm always apprehensive about TV shows transitioning into movies. It always kind of feels a little bit odd and a little bit jarring, but this didn't happen here, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, is that this didn't feel like a movie at all. What this essentially felt like was just an extended episode of Breaking Bad, and I think that worked massively in this film's favour. I think we got the right story that was told too. Obviously there was a lot of scope and a lot of interest in, you know, what really happened to Jesse after he drove away from the Nazis in his car, and what this movie does is throws you straight back into the heart of that story. There's no time jump or anything like that. This movie just starts right where we left off, and I love that because it threw us back into the heart of Breaking Bad. It threw us back into familiar territory for the first 15-20 minutes of this movie. We got to see some returning characters, which was nice. We saw Badger and Skinny Pete, as I say, just bringing and adding to that familiarity of this movie. And then after that, this story really starts to move and progress into what felt like, for me, Jesse's redemption story, because it feels like Breaking Bad, we never got to see any sort of happy ending for any character, and the one character that always felt like he was good and pure and always felt like he was just kind of in there through circumstance was Jesse. So to see him kind of redeem himself and kind of get some sort of resolution and happy ending was really nice to see. What was also nice to see, segueing that in nicely there, was Aaron Paul back. He threw everything into this role, and I think he gave such a great performance. And as I said, although this story was very simple, it was kind of, you know, Jesse getting from point A to point B, I also think there was a lot of layers, and especially a lot of layers into Jesse's story. We got to see flashbacks, and we almost got to see Jesse dealing with his PTSD, you know, after being held captive by the Nazis and being held captive by I think it's Uncle Jesse. Is it Uncle Jesse? I think it is. But, you know, we saw him in the shower, you know, being terrified of the water. We saw him see Candy, the car auto repair guy, and, you know, we got to see how harrowing his experiences were as a captor. And as I say, it was nice to see his character progress and kind of fight through all of that trauma. And yeah, I think Aaron Paul gave a great performance here. It was also nice to see a lot of the returning characters from Breaking Bad. I don't think they overforced them. I think all of the characters that were there added something to the story. We saw some returning characters. Obviously, I've mentioned, you know, Skinny Pete and Badger, but we saw people that were dead in the show that came back. We saw Mike right at the beginning. Again, I think that worked well. In a flashback, it obviously kind of went full circle, as it was Mike that gave Jesse the idea to move to Alaska. Also, we got the big return of Walter White, Heisenberg. Obviously, this was just in a flashback, but that still worked as well, because again, it kind of showed the power struggle between Jesse and Walt. We got to see these two very different characters. You know, Walt is so focused and determined, whereas Jesse is just sitting there happily enjoying his pineapple breakfast and really enjoying the money. Again, it showed that fragility between their relationship, and also the naivety of Jesse, you know, what he didn't really understand what he'd got himself into with Walt. So that was kind of nice that was plonked towards the end of the movie, because, as I say, it just made Jesse's story feel so much more impactful and so much more important. The fact that, you know, all of this terrible stuff's happened to him, but he had the guts and determination to get away from this life and obviously start a new life all the way up in Alaska. Yeah, it felt like a perfect ending to the Breaking Bad story, but at the same time not changing the impact of the ending of the Breaking Bad story, if that makes any sort of sense. I think the only negative for me would be that we never saw Skyler or Walt Jr. in this movie. if memory serves me right, we didn't really get much conclusion to them in the Breaking Bad series, so it would have been nice to have seen them in there somewhere. Maybe it would have felt a little bit too disjointed and maybe a little bit too forced. Maybe that's why they didn't do it. I understand if that is the reason why, but other than that, I think El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, was like, I think you've got to view it in two separate things. I think it was a very, very solid movie, but as an addition to the Breaking Bad story, I think it was nigh on perfect, and I think it was pretty much a perfect ending to this saga. I really, really, really enjoyed this. So if you guys have seen El Camino, let me know what you thought about it, as always, down in those comments below. And if you did enjoy this video and you want to keep up to date with all the latest movie news and reviews, then make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the very next episode of The Jamie Hughes Show. Ta-ra!